Another nice mantel clock was dropped off in the shop today. This one belongs to Rod from Garfield, Washington. It's got a beautiful case, as you can see. At 124 years old, it's in fine shape. I love these Victorian clocks. It's got real nice brass embellishments on it. I'm not going to clean the case. It looks like it has dust on it, but whatever it is, it's stuck to the black finish. The wood on the base has a few cracks in it. The dial on this one is porcelain, fired on a copper dial pan. There's a few hairline cracks in it. The numbers are printed on, then fired as part of the porcelain. The bezel has a lot of wax deposits on it. Real nice Seth Thomas trademark on the dial. The back has the original care tag on it. It's labeled as an adamantine clock. The bottom has the manufacturing date of 7981J. The J stands for October 1897. The top and some of the trim is covered with a celluloid product called adamantine. This is where these clocks get their name. First, I'll get the hands off. It has an inspection plate on the back. I'll remove these 4 screws to take the back completely off. Everything in this clock is in good shape so far. Whoa, lots of dust in here. The key, the pendulum, it's either pot metal or lead that's been plated with maybe nickel. This one mainspring is binding against the clock case. It needs to be wound before the last screws are removed. That's much better. Here you can see the back side of the dial has porcelain on it. First, I'll remove the suspension spring and rod so it doesn't get damaged. I see the spring has a kink in it. It's still functional like this. Now to take a look at the wear on the pivot holes on the strike side of the rear plate. There is some wear. Now the pivot holes on the time side of the rear plate. Not real bad. Now the pivot holes on the strike side of the front plate. I see a bushing has been installed here on the escaped wheel pivot. It's sticking past the plate more than I leave them, but it'll work fine. And the pivot holes on the time side of the front plate. A few loose ones, but I've seen much worse ones in service. The plates have some old fingerprints on them. Anytime there are fingerprints left on a clock movement like this, they should always be solvent cleaned off before it leaves the shop. I see someone scratched some writing on the gold gilt here. It reads, cleaned February 14th, 1927. And then it's signed below the date. Not able to read the signature. These mainspring gears have a lot of dried oil between the teeth. Anytime oil gets this dried on a movement, you know it's been sitting on them for many years. I'll wind them up so I can get a mainspring clamp on them. Now to inspect how the gears and pinions mesh with each other. The fourth wheel and escape wheel are not meshing smoothly. They seem to be binding with each other. I see someone has installed two bushings on this movement. One on the escape wheel and one on the fifth wheel. The two wheels that are binding. Second wheel has good end shake. Third wheel has good end shake. Wow, there's absolutely no end shake on the fifth wheel. And the escape wheel has 0 end shake as well. This is the problem, I'm sure of it. The workmanship some people do just isn't up to par. No wonder the family couldn't ever get this clock to work after it had been worked on last. I'll pull it apart and take a look at the bushing job the last guy did. Not sure what these two countersunk holes are next to it for. I see it's not adjusted correctly. It's sticking out about 30,000ths of an inch past the inside of the plate. It should be flush. I'll use the staking tool to adjust it flush where it should be. Just a little bit more. The guy left quite a burr on the plate. This This looks much better. Only about 1/1000th of an inch sticking past now. And the escape wheel pivot bushing has the same condition. I'll adjust it as well, and all should be good. I've cleaned the movement and it's time to get it all back together. It's going to take several rubber bands on this movement. The pillars don't line up as well as they should on this movement. I'll need to install a couple mounting screws first. About a thread or two will leave everything loose enough to continue. Now with the constant pressure from the rubber bands, the pivots will slide nicely into place. Well, everything came together good. For the setting arbor, first the spring, and always a washer between the spring and the retaining wire. Nice, it works good. The worm gear is meshing with the pinion just fine. No interference to the escape wheel. The retaining wire is final crimped using some pliers with serrations on the jaws. Now to wind it up and get the mainspring retainers off. Nice, everything seems to be working freely. Time to oil it. The leather on the striking hammer is all dried up, hard as a rock. I drill a hole that is centered on the leather and smaller than the inside diameter. This one is threaded, so I'll use an old sewing needle to chase the threads and release the old leather. Now to get a soft piece of leather mounted. It's easy. Just thread the new leather in. The movement has been running for a week and a half now. The last place it needs oil is where the suspension spring rod passes through the crutch fork. Boy, it sure runs good. To get these screws in these tight spots, Any type of tacky type of putty works good in the screw slots. Another nice Seth Thomas mantel clock ready for its owners to enjoy.